Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Shell Alexis, and I am finally back with another custom video. Today we are doing the full wrap Air Force One customs using Realtree Camo and that hot orange that you see on there. We're also going to be hand painting a custom name, and I'm going to show you guys how to add this little shoe charm on and change the shoestrings. This is going to be a full out custom video, so if you're interested in seeing how we got these full wrap camo customs, stay tuned. Starting with our supply list, you already know you're going to need your fresh out the box Air Force Ones. Ooh, I love me some FOBs, y'all. Look how clean they are, fresh out the box. And we are using a size 10 today. And we're also going to be adding these fluffy shoestrings. I found these on Amazon. And this Realtree Camo fabric, I bought it by the yard on Amazon. You're going to need some tape, an X-Acto knife, some fabric fusion, some 100% acetone. We're using Angelus brand leather paint in the color neon lava orange. You're going to need some GAC 900 heat fabric medium, some cotton balls, and of course a heat gun. All right, let's get into it. So first you're going to take out your shoestrings and take your cotton balls with acetone, and you're going to clean off all the parts that you're going to be painting today. Again, we're going to be using lava orange. It is a neon Angelus brand leather paint, and I personally like to mix like a little drop of white in my neons just to make it a little bit more opaque and bright. And then for the fabric part of the shoe, we're going to be mixing part 50-50 part Angelus paint and the fabric medium, and you're going to be using your heat gun to set that, and that's going to be on the inside of the shoe as well as around the tongue. Anywhere where you're painting on fabric, you want to make sure you use that fabric medium and set it with your heat gun. And that completes stage one of this custom. This is what we have so far. It's looking good. It's looking clean. Now I did go over the check. You can see that there are not clean lines around that, but you don't have to worry because we're going to fix that in the next step. But I definitely wanted to make sure I covered the sides of that check because if it shows, I don't want any white peeking through. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take black, which I did not have this in the supply list because I didn't know I was going to do this step. A lot of this is just, I'll be figuring it out as I go, y'all. But we're going to take our black Angelus brand leather paint, and we're going to paint all around our edges wherever your fabric is going to meet an edge. So that will be, of course, around the Nike check. And it's going to be up along the edges of where that fabric is. You know where you're going to put your fabric. I can't really say because, you know, it's up to you where you want to put your fabric at. But wherever you're going to put your fabric, you want to make sure to paint in a color that semi-matches or blends with that fabric. Just in case you have any... if you cut your fabric short and you have just a little piece peeking out, you want to make sure that it's not super noticeable and just bright white up under there. You don't want to be able to tell. Now, in this case, this step was almost completely pointless because, y'all, when I tell y'all, that shoe wrapped. It wrapped good and all of the edges met and it was just perfect. It was flawless. But I don't regret doing this because it was just an extra step of precaution to take, because I would have been really, really upset had it not been perfect and I had any white showing. So I don't regret taking this step. It is extra, so if you think you can do it without taking this extra precaution, then by all means, but this is how I did it. I knew I was also going to be putting the fabric on the tag on the tongue of the shoe, so I went ahead and painted those edges as well. I just want everything to be seamless once we start putting that fabric on. I don't want you to see any white where there's not supposed to be white. Once you get all your edges painted, it should look a little something like this. I know it look crazy, y'all, but you gotta trust the process. Please, just trust the process. Next, we're gonna take our tape and we are going to make a stencil. So we're gonna use that tape to wrap our entire shoe wherever that fabric is gonna be. And we're gonna have to cut it in half right down the middle of the shoe. So make sure you draw that indicator line right down the center. And then you're just gonna take a pen and trace out all the places where the fabric is going to be. You want to be able to use this as a whole stencil. So make sure you got that tape laid all the way down with no bubbles. And make sure when you trace it to a T. After you finish tracing, we're going to go in with our X-Acto knife and we're going to cut off all of the excess tape around the edges, as well as we're going to cut out that Nike stripe and we're going to cut right down the middle so that we can make a straight seam going down the middle of our shoe. Now, I know it's probably not your preference to have a seam going down the middle of your shoe. I know it wasn't mine. But what y'all didn't see is we make this entire stencil before this, and I tried to make it one full piece that wrapped all the way around the toe of the shoe, and it just does not work. It will not fit because that part is rounded, so it's going to be damn near impossible for you to get that part to be able to cut it out for it to wrap around that toe part without any problems. So in my experience, it's going to be best to go ahead and put that seam right down the middle, but I found a way that you can do it where it's not so noticeable. So you want to go ahead and just cut out your entire stencil, and once you get the whole thing cut out, you're going to carefully, and I mean carefully because your tape can still come apart, you're going to try to get this stencil off by just pulling it ever so slightly and slowly, y'all. You got to take your time pulling this up. If any of the tape comes apart, you want to stop and try to put it back together before you continue to take it off. Now, what I like to do is take some strips of tape and apply them in the opposite direction. Y'all see how my stencil or my tape kind of goes from front to back of the shoe. For the second stencil that I made, I took some strips of tape and I took them vertically down the shoe just to bind the layers of tape together. But as you can see, we're just pulling it off real slow. If it gets caught, use your X-Acto knife to peel it up. And then you're going to stick that stencil right down on your fabric. Now, what I should have done, I did not do this for the first one because, again, this was a learning experience. This was actually my first time doing a custom like this. What I learned to do the second time around was to line up the toe boxes of my stencils so that basically the fabric can kind of line up at the toe box. But it looked fine either way. Now we're going to go in with this super fabric adhesive. This was not in the supply list either. However, I like this glue better than the Fabric Fusion. It is a little bit stronger. However, it does dry faster. So as you can see, I have a paintbrush. I'm taking it one small section at a time and just applying that glue and laying down our fabric. And once you get it lined up and laid down, you want to press it down into the leather of the shoe so that you make sure it's all nice and flat on that shoe. You don't want any air bubbles. You don't want any impurities. You want to make sure that thing is laid, honey. As always, the key to any custom is to take your time. You don't have to rush, y'all. You're going to get them done. But you will be thankful if you take the time and make sure you get it done right the first time, rather than just rushing through it and having to go back and redo something. So just take your time. It will take a while, and that's okay. You're going to be thankful that you took the time to get it how you wanted it to be.
No matter what you say, what you do, when I'm alone, I'd rather be with you. Fuck these other niggas, I'll be right by your side till 2005. Okay, hold on, wait a minute, all good, just a week ago.
Now, I also wanted to cover that little piece of fabric on the tongue with this fabric as well. So I went ahead and used a piece of tape to stencil that part out. And I went ahead and glued that piece of fabric right on top. Now it's time to move on to the second shoe. And like I was explaining before, this time around, I decided to strategically place my stencils where the toe boxes meet, so that there can be a even more seamless meet in the middle of our two toe boxes. So yes, I highly recommend this method. It worked out even better than the first one. So yeah, I highly recommend. And you want to be very, very, very careful cutting these out as well. I would try to avoid cutting right on top of the tape, for one, because it helps to have a little bit of extra fabric, because you can always trim it, but you cannot go back and add more fabric on, for one. And for two, is cutting directly on that tape is gonna leave you more likely to have strays when you pull that stencil off. Also, make sure to do that very slowly. I know it looked like I did it real fast, but this is sped up quite a bit. You want to take your time pulling that stencil off of that fabric so that it does not snag any of your fabrics, because that can easily happen. So you're going to just repeat the same process that we did for the first shoe. On the second shoe, I am taking it again, one small section at a time, adding my glue, spreading it with my brush, and then pressing that fabric into that leather so it is not going anywhere.
Can't tell, because when them checks clear, they're not here. They don't care.
Once you get to that toe box, you just want to really take your time lining it up and trimming it down if you need to. I had these little fabric trimmers. I don't even know what they're called, y'all, but you see them. You also want to make sure all of your edges are glued down, because those will be the first places to lift up if it were going to lift up. And this is what they're looking like now that we have all of our fabric on, and we are ready to move on to the next phase of this custom. Although you could really stop right here. These look pretty dope. This was pretty much the reference photo she showed me for this custom pretty much looked like this, but she wanted me to add her name. So y'all know we're not done. There's more. Now I'm about to go ahead and show you guys how to string up these shoestrings. However, it is completely okay if you want to go ahead and get the paint job out of the way before you string them up. In fact, I recommend it. I didn't have problems with mine, but if you're a messy painter or something, you want to make sure you string up your shoes very last. But I'm going to show you guys how I string my shoes up. So of course the holes are covered up by our fabric. So I found it easiest to go from the inside of the shoe where you can see the holes and poke through to the outside of the shoe, and then go from the outside of the shoe and poke the hole back in the other way and cut it multiple ways. You want to cut it up and down as well as across, so that that fabric opens for you to make a hole. A lot of these holes still were a little hard to push my strings through, but I use my pliers to just open up the hole a little bit more so that I could get my shoestrings through there. But before I put on my strings, I'm going to add my little shoe charms. If you guys have seen me make customs before, you've seen me use these little shoe charms. I add these to all of my custom shoes. They just say Shell Alexis Art with the little Instagram logo. And I'll show you guys how to make them in another video because I had a request to make them. And as you guys can see, I already have little jump rings on my charms, but because I am using these thicker shoestrings, I'm gonna have to add these larger jump rings to my charms in order for them to fit through there. So in order to do that, I'm gonna have to first take off the little jump rings that I already have on there, and then just add on the larger jump rings. It's really not that hard, y'all. Just use my tweezers to open them up, take them off, and then pop the new ones on. So I did that for both of my charms to get them ready to go on my shoestrings, and this is what it looks like. So now you're gonna feed your shoestring. I don't know why I can't talk today. You're going to feed your shoestring through one side of the hole and then take it through the back side or the other side. And then you're going to slide that all the way down until it's in the middle, the very middle of your shoestring. Now you're ready to string them up. Now I will say, y'all, I skipped an entire hole. So, and this is me trying to get it through that hole. And as you can see, I just used my pliers to stick through that hole just to make it a little bit thicker. I made sure that was completely in the center, and I continued to string it up. Now, what I was saying before is I missed a hole. I realized it. I didn't realize it then, but I did later on. Like, I was like, why does this look funny? So I missed a hole. Not only did I miss a hole just now, but I missed a whole set of holes underneath the set of holes that I started with, which is why you see that little gap between the fabric and the tongue. And I do go back and fix that, so no worries. Just make sure you get all the holes when you string up your shoes. All right, we're all done. As you can see, I did go back and move the shoestrings down one more hole, so it looks a lot better now. We got rid of that gap, and this is what they are giving, y'all. These are so dope, just like this. But again, my client wanted me to add her name, so that is what we're gonna be doing next. But you could really just stop here and have a super dope custom, so it's completely up to you. So moving along, I'm going to practice a few fonts. This first font is the font that I ended up going with. This was the first font that I had in mind when she told me she wanted her name on her shoes. But just for good measure, I wanted to try out a couple different fonts just to see if something else, stood out to me, but not really. You can also get on, go on like fontspace.com or something like that and just type in some different fonts. And if you're not good at drawing, you can always make a stencil. But as a tattoo artist, I pretty much draw all names all day. So, this was not that hard for me. I went ahead and kind of sketched it out over the camo using a white colored pencil, just so I can kind of, gauge my size and everything, and I just like to sketch it out before I go in with paint. That's all. We're using our flat white Angelus brand leather paint, and even though we are painting on fabric, I am not using a fabric medium for this part because I wanted my paint to be extremely opaque. I did not want it to be washed out and lighter and take 1,000 coats. But it's really not gonna matter because once you paint on this fabric with this leather paint, it's not going anywhere. You don't even have to heat set it. I did heat set it, but once it dries, it's on there and you don't have to worry about it. So I started out with just doing a thin layer of the white paint to kind of just graph out where I wanted the name to be and the font that I wanted. And then we're gonna go back after we heat set it, and we're going to make it a little bit thicker, just a little bit thicker, not too much thicker. We are gonna make it a lot thicker, but not yet. You just want this part to be really bright and opaque and the right thickness. Now we're gonna heat set it, and this is a reason why you should probably put your shoestrings in last, because I almost seared them. But I just went ahead and put my hand over the shoestrings so that I could make sure that I wasn't getting the heat on that part of the shoe. No, I did not burn my hand, y'all. I wouldn't sit there and burn my hand. I just had my hand there as a guard to make sure I wasn't applying heat to the strings. Now we're going to take some more white paint and we're going to kind of do a border around the white paint we already have down. Don't worry, you're going to be able to see this border because you're only doing one layer, whereas the other paint you already had down at least 2 layers. I might have done 3. So you will still be able to see where your white is on the outside. But once I put down that first layer of white on the outside, I went ahead and put orange on top of the white that was already opaque. And then I went back in with a couple more layers of white just along the outside. And I did this just to make the lettering pop. You can easily just do it in full color. But for me, I love a good white outline to make anything pop. I do the same thing with my tattoos as well. I just love a good white outline. Now you're going to repeat the same process on the second shoe. Make sure you go ahead and do at least 2, maybe 3 coats of white paint before you go on to add the outer part, because you want to be able to see where to paint your color on. I prefer to do it this way because it just helps me guide myself on the shoes. It helps me to know where to paint and where to let up. I don't know, you have to judge it for yourself. This is my process because this has just been my process. I don't know how to explain it. This is what works for me. Sometimes you do have to just find the method that works for you. But this is how I do it when I'm trying to paint on hand lettering without a stencil. So yeah, I hope this helps somebody. And if not, I'm sorry. But that pretty much completes our custom. You do want to seal everything you painted with a paint sealer, a leather paint sealer. And also, I like to spray my shoes down with the weatherproof spray. I'll add a picture of it since I forgot to add a clip in here. But I pretty much love how they came out. Puddin loves them too. She's waiting for me to post this video so we can post all the pictures and things. But I hope you guys like this video. I know it's been a while since I posted on this channel, but I do have some more customs and things on the way for you guys, so stay tuned for that. And if there's anything that you guys want me to bring to this channel, feel free to let me know because I'm pretty much open to anything. I do have a new series that I will be starting soon, but as soon as I have more information about that, you guys will be the first to know. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave me a comment down below just to let me know that you are here and that you watched my video and that you're still rocking with me. Also, subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.